Okay, welcome to another stream of Lyrebird Edits. Okay, put that over there so I can hear myself talk. I'm over here now. I'm on a different side of the screen. I used to live that way, that way, that way, over there. Now I'm here, and I haven't physically moved at all. Oh, that looks weird, doesn't it? This is the first stream where I've had myself on the left. Anyway, I'm doing this because of a purely marketing perspective, and it's this. When you see my lovely preview window, in the whole raft of Twitch streamers that you could choose to click on, I was being hidden before by the creative multicolored rose. I don't really know what that is. I haven't looked too closely at it. The logo for the whatever genre you stream, if it's creative or if it's a game, it covers the right-hand portion of the screen, and it always covered my face, I found out. So I decided to move my face over here so you can look at me in all my preview picture glory. It shouldn't make a difference. It just looks strange, doesn't it? Hey, good evening, Solar Starlord. I just found a book that I like. Tell me about this book that you like. What's the title? Does it have a nice cover? And who's it by? I want to know. Give me the details, please. Give me the details. The School of Good and Evil. That sounds like a non-fiction book, I'm going to be guessing. Nice cover. Let me do the old quick sneaky Google, unless you want to paste a link and then we can see it. Up to you. That's quite a nice cover. Not bad at all. Cool. What's it about? Looks like it's like a... If I'm guessing, if I'm judging a book by its cover, which we should all do, looks like it's a bit of historical fiction, maybe a bit of fantasy in there. Quest for Glory. Is it lit RPG? That's just a wild guess. Looks cool though. Yes. Okay. Any announcements? Anything else? I moved my face across the screen. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else I need to tell you guys about. I'm going to be editing two stories tonight. The first one is a story that Nora sent to me a little while back in early April, and I said I'd stream it last week. I was not here on Thursday. I forgot on Sunday, so I'm streaming Nora's story tonight, but only for a little bit. This is all of Nora's story, and then I'll switch over to the Grim Chronicles Dead Man Switch Chapter 20 by PumpkinPieAddict / Crim, novelist _ Crim to be precise. So yeah, we'll go back to Nora's story first. It's a shorty, it's a quickie. We'll get through that. I don't think there's anything else I need to work with. Before I edit not Solar Starlords, novelist Crim's story tonight, he sent me a whisper saying, like, what's my overall impression of the slice as a reader, in what's my emotional engagement. So I'll address that before I start doing the line edits for round 2 tonight. So kids get kidnapped from a town, and every 4 years it's just 2 kids that get taken, and each of them go to a school for good, and the other to an evil school. Nice, and they compare like Rapunzel and Belle. Ah, it's interesting. Sounds like it's like one of those classic fairy tales, and then it just sort of takes a strange 90-degree turn. This sort of sounds like, oh, we're doing it to appease the forest gods, and then all of a sudden, nope, you're going to school. Like, oh, okay. That sounds fun. Yeah, the title, the cover had that sort of vibe to it, the fairy tale-ish vibe. I didn't guess fairy tale though, but as soon as you sort of say it, you can see it within covers. I guess I should link to the cover. Um, that would be helpful, wouldn't it? The cover that I saw with my eyes. Copy image address. Yep. That's pretty nice. Coolies. Alrighty, well, why don't I dive into the edit? Let's do it. Let's do it. So, I'll give it a read. I'm not going to do a huge amount of line editing this one, and you'll probably see why as I go through it. I think it's best that I talk more about what this story is in a developmental sense. So that's how all the ideas flow together, and whether or not the execution matches up to what the author intends for the idea. So I don't want to do too much of a heavy line-by-line edit. Let's read. Sometimes I sit up in bed and look at my room. I look at the empty walls. In these moments, I find the only place I can go to is my memories. I stroll through my mind as I listen to the quiet, being interrupted by my breathing. I must have passed last year's events when I decide to stop. I look at a memory and can't help but think of it. My stroll shall end here. I relive the following. I'm on my way to meet some of my friends. As I check the time, I push my feet harder into the pedals of my bike. No, I don't. My mind corrects me. I did not ride the bike there that evening. As I check the time, I sigh and sink back into my seat. Through the windows of the bus, I can see the Rhine. I get out at my stop and see 3 of my friends standing there. Although I really only look at him. I see his eyes light up and greet me before he actually does. We all enter the building quietly. Inside, the band is already playing and people are dancing. The evening gets older, the songs slower. Pairs form naturally as I look around me. Then I see him. His eyes light up the same way they did before, but it's a different girl now. He swirls around her, then catches her in his arms. I feel sad, but I don't love him yet, so it's fine. I want to leave. I'm going to highlight this, but I don't love him yet, so it's fine. Let me also edit one other thing I want to talk about. And also, the building. I want to leave. Later, he approaches me and asks me to dance. I have a great time, but so did that girl. I still want to leave. Then I do. Well, we all leave eventually. He wants to walk me home. I agree, and we stroll along the Rhine as he pushes his bike. When it's time to part, I no longer feel like any other girl. His eyes are so gorgeous and his words are so sincere. We say goodbye, but it feels like the beginning. Okay, I've highlighted some parts here that I want to talk about specifically, developmentally. You live close to the Rhine, huh? There you go. Maybe Solar Star Lord, this is you, and I don't know. Maybe Nora and yourself are. I don't know. Maybe she's like stalking you from afar and using you as a muse. Hopefully not. That's creepy. Let's just say, oh, the Rhine. It's a big river. There's lots of people who live around it. Let's just call it that. So what's the go here? Creepy. Yeah, you never know. What's the go here? There are 2 very, very distinct sections. The first is the idea that this character, who's nameless, she doesn't have a name, I assume it's a she, is perusing her memories and diving back as a present tense character into her memories. Now, that's clever in that there's this really nice moment here where I feel sad, but I don't love him yet, so it's fine. It's actually quite a clever device that you can use when your character is in the present, but all the events are happening in the past. One of the really nice things about first person is being able to do this, is to talk about events that happened in the past, but inject into them and to paste over them the perceptions of the character in the present. It's difficult to pull off, but if you do it, it's very nice. So I'll talk about this first section and just make a general comment about it here. Comments about section 1. There's a good opportunity here to flesh out the stroll through the memories idea in a more metaphorical sense. Or it's not really metaphorical, it's more imaginary. What I mean by that is this. Instead of outright telling the reader that the MC is going through her memories, you can depict it, say, by having her stroll through a garden, but surprise, all of the flowers are actually embodied memories. Others, sand grains on beach equals memories, and she bends down to pick them up, etc. etc. I don't necessarily want this story to be fantastical or magic realism, but I think it'd make the memories more visceral and entertaining if they had some sort of spark to them. Stereotypically, this scene could be conveyed with your MC walking down a dark, spoopy hallway where doors equal memories. Same thing. It's a neat image to hold onto. Now, I'm suggesting this because I think that it's a lot more entertaining for the reader. As I said, I don't want this to be a magic realism story. You can inject otherworldly and unreal imagery into a piece of literary fiction, or if it's just modern fiction, you can definitely do that. And it's fun when that happens, because otherwise it's just, I'm on my bed and I'm thinking. And that's kind of what this is. I'm on my bed and I'm thinking. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but me as a reader, I want to really feel what it's like for this person to go through their heads. What this allows you to do... Oh, sorry, Star-Lord, you were talking there. Editing's the bane of my existence, says the Witch's Door. Hello, Witch's Door. Welcome to the bane of your existence, Slybird Edits. Stream could use purple prose, you say, Meg. Don't mind if I do. Stump your purple prose here, and I will de-purple it for you. Or maybe even turn it into a fresh lilac colour. We'll see how we go. Yeah, I mean, lots of writers don't like to edit. I love to edit, and I'm a writer, so that's just me though. I think a lot of people look at their own writing with quite a harsh eye, and I think why they don't like editing is maybe this is you, the Witch's Door, but perhaps it's because they feel as though they haven't executed the idea properly. They have in their head this vision of what their story is like, but when they read the words, they think, oh, that's not what I wanted. And that's not so much editing, so to speak. That's the problem. It's just more a case of getting comfortable and familiar with your writing style so that you can go back over it and work with it. So, practice makes perfect, more or less. Hello, Solar Star-Lord. In my Discord? I didn't realize you hadn't joined my Discord. Welcome to my Discord. Welcome to my... I just had to think of how to spell Discord. And if you too would like to be part of my Discord, which is an extraordinarily exclusive club, click on the link on my Lyrebird Edits homepage, just on Twitch. You'll see the big Discord sticker thing there. Click on that and come and say hi. I had fun ones, was terrible. Oh, it's you get used to having fun. It gets better and better. Exactly 3 pages. Nice. Thank you. You can also send it to my mail as well, up to you. Hello Make, welcome to the Discord. Yeah, up to you. If you want to keep it private, if you want to put it on the Discord and other people can see it, up to you, totally fine. Yeah, so what this allows you to do is, get the reader inside the MC's head so that they form an emotional connection with the events. That's the key. This is what you're after. Yeah, like don't do the hallway spoopy thing. That's overused. But you can find a whole litany of ways to describe memories and how people engage with them. Have a think, because I think that would be a lot stronger at the start of a story rather than just I'm in bed and I'm thinking. Right, let's deal with part 2. Part 2 has a lot of different threads to it. I'm in the memory, I'm on a bike, I'm not on a bike, I'm on a bus, I'm passing the Rhine River, I get off, he's there, we go into a building, there's a band playing, we're dancing, the hot guy is dancing with hot girl, I feel sad, but then we're together, and then we say goodbye, but it feels like the beginning. There's a lot of very isolated events that occur within the space of one paragraph, and that's usually not an effective way to convey the crux of the story. What we usually do is pick one of those and flesh it out into a paragraph. Doing it this way means that it's just it reads like a synopsis, told in the first person, as if you're in a police station giving an account of what happened yesterday. I was here, I did this, I went into the building, he was there. That's fine, but the essence of writing is conveying a scene to someone, but also making them feel like they own it, like they're a part of it too. There are some really interesting parts here. Sorry, the green is going to be interesting parts. Part 1 is the fact that the memories are fragile. You can definitely work with that. Part 2 is, I feel sad but I don't love him yet, so it's fine. That's the present overriding the past. That's really cool. We say goodbye but it feels like the beginning is just a cool line. And there are some cool lines in here too. I suggest breaking this up into the... part 2. I suggest breaking this up into the crucial elements, which are, in my opinion, 1, the memory is fragile. Is she on a bike? Is she on a bus? This is great, by the way. Love interest on the dance floor. Three, see you later, not goodbye. So I suggest breaking out this into the crucial elements, which are, in my opinion, green, highlighted. The memory is fragile. Is she on a bike? Is she on a bus? This is a great device to use. And a good way to start off the memory. Nice. Love interest from a dance floor, but she doesn't love him yet. see you later, not goodbye, which means, you know, goodbye for now, but not goodbye forever, which is a nice way to finish up. You can easily strip away all of the other detail and just focus on fleshing out the key elements into an emotional scene like this. I feel as though we are together in a quiet space, just the two of us. Have a think about how you want to replay this as well. Like, you can start the scene some way, and then I really want to keep this. So like, this comes down to this. This is all just word vomit, but this is kind of like what I imagine the scene, in part, should look a little bit like. This incorporates those green elements up here, in a way that feels more real. So this is to Nora. Have a think about how you want the scene to look and what kind of important features you want to talk about. Don't try and cram too much into a single paragraph. It doesn't work. It makes your reader confused and a bit overwhelmed. Don't be afraid to write more. Just slow down, flesh it out, and the more you do that, the more in-depth it feels, the more real it feels. Yeah. I think we're done. Let me... Give me a sec. Alright, good. I managed to do something that I always forget to do, which is to properly send people a link to the documents that I work on. Done. Thank you, Nora. Thanks for sending that in. I was interested to see how dealing with a story like this would end up working. Oh, nice. You sent it. Excellent. Thank you, Solar Star Lord. This is like the opening line of a song I listened to recently by Logic. Which you know, it's a small American rapper. No one really knows Logic, you know. Like I think he's like the 5th most played artist on Spotify or something. He's incredibly heavily streamed. So I don't know if that was intentional or not, but yeah, let me know if it was. I do private editing, Mick. Yes. I was gonna charge money for it. Like I promised Hetch Littman that I would do some private editing, and never got around to formalizing a price structure. It would kind of depend on how long it was, Mick. Because I promised Hetch I'd have a think about how much to charge for a private edit, and I never got back to him because I don't think clearly enough about private editing. It would depend on the length, I think, as well. If it's the kind of thing that a professional editor would charge money for, like if it's a novella or something, I'd probably maybe charge money. If it's a short story, I certainly wouldn't. It just depends how much time it would take too. So in answer to your question, yes, but I don't know under what sort of framework it would come up as. Send me an email. We can discuss that in private. Like I'm more than happy just to do things on the side, without making people pay money. It's just messy when money changes hands. Yeah. Okay, yeah, send it over. I never listened to Post Malone before. I keep hearing his name, but I'm too much of a music wanker to admit that I should listen to more mainstream music. Yeah. I hope I'm reasonable in my private editing. I'll have to get back to Lich as well, actually. Yeah. Shoot me a message. Yeah, I was interested to see how I could successfully edit this story without just going through it line by line and going change that, change that, change that, change that. I didn't want to do that kind of edit. I wanted to speak more about what the story was and how it felt, and where I think it can improve in its structure first. That's the easiest thing to fix about a story, is basically fixing it and rewriting it, not from a line by line point, but just from like a fresh perspective. So thank you, Nora, for sending that through. I hope that was a useful edit. Now, on to Dead Man's Switch, The Grim Chronicles, by PumpkinPieAddict / novelist_Krim, who sent me a whisper at the end of last stream asking me what my general feelings and thoughts were about the flow of this story, which I will answer right after I look at the chat above my head. Right now, Solar Star Lord, but I'm editing. I'll do it after, and I'll let you know on Discord what I make of it. Yes, please do, make anytime you're ready. Anytime. My mailbox is always open. But yeah, I'd love to give you a second opinion before you shoot it off to a lit mag. Fingers crossed too that it works out for you. Okay. Good stuff. I hate it. It's garbage. Despise your taste in music. I'll listen to it when in my own time. The Dead Man's Switch. My thoughts about it. So it did give me a very much like a Metal Gear Solid 007 vibe. I'm not all that familiar with Metal Gear Solid. I know a bit about the series. I'm more familiar with like a 007 kind of vibe. Um, just in terms of like one man against the world, I can take on 10 bad boys, no problem, everything is fine. That sort of character conjures to mind like someone who's quite grand and sort of a bit beyond the scope of the world in a fun way. It's escapism, isn't it? I guess because we're coming into this from chapter 20, I don't know if I have a connection with the character yet to make that judgment call about whether or not Grimm, who's the main character, whether or not he is pulling my attention along in the way that is intended. Um, the action sequences were quite thick, and they were thick because a lot was happening inside them. Not only in terms of the amount of people that were being taken down and killed, it was just also the sheer volume of stuff that was going on. Oh, that's a bit redundant. Sorry. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the volume of what was happening. Like he rolls into a ditch. He takes out someone. He moves across. Someone slides down into the ditch. He sneaks up under them, and he then the grenade goes off. When he gets out of the trench, gets back in. Another grenade goes off. He gets out. I made that comment actually. I think it was my monster comment. Not here. It was an enormous comment here. No, not there. My goodness, where was it? I think it's one of the longest comments I've ever written. Oh, further down. Here we go. Yes, this one here. Wow. Here is everything that happens in that action scene in the space of, I think it was about 1,300 words. Action scene begins here and action scene ends. It's 1,300 words, and if you break it down into its individual stylistic elements, it's this. 14 things happen in 1,300 words. So it leaves you 100 words under per scene. Why I'm talking a lot about the structure is because I think a lot of writers mistake well, not really mistake. I think they lose focus on what writing is, and that sounds weird. And this isn't like a specific criticism at the author of this piece here. It's a sort of mentality of like, imagine if you're making music, but the amp that you're using to broadcast your sound into the stage mic is a bit sort of crackly. It's there's too much clipping. Imagine if the guitar you're using is a bit out of tune. The action's too loose. That kind of mentality that it can be fixed up in post means that structurally it weakens the story. Let me rephrase this another way so I don't sound like a complete jackass. What happens in the story is only one aspect of why the reader cares. You can read a fantastic synopsis of a movie. Like I could sit down and tell you end from end what Wes Anderson's film I Love Dogs, which is an amazing film. Please go see it. It's wonderful. It's such a good film. But I could tell you the story in a Wikipedia style. This happens and then this happens, but then this cool thing happens. Fine. Whatever. But unless you're there actually witnessing the movie, watching it, seeing how it flows, unless you're there doing that, it's a bit you're only getting half the picture. Half the picture. It's a movie picture. And in the same way, if you read a story, it kind of doesn't matter what like this is my personal philosophy, and I only mean this in a half serious way, but what happens in your story is only half of it. Just as like the script of the movie is only half of it. The movie has its visuals, its music, its sound and composition, its cinematography. The story has its structure, its word choice, and its flow, and those are things that cannot be, they can't be rushed, and they can't be left to an editor for the editor to come in and go, okay, let's do my magic, and your story will be mwah, beautiful. It doesn't work like that. It's not enough for me to go like, yeah, this action scene's fun, because it is. Like, heaps of people die, and you know, there's stuff going on left, right, and center. How can you not be interested? Well, one thing is the structure. That question wasn't rhetorical. It's, you don't want your structure to weaken the emotional enjoyment of a story. You need to pay attention to the flow of words. If it's written in an exciting way, because the image it creates overall is a union of the plot and how it's written. And right now, how it's written is hampering it a little bit. It's not in any way like, oh, you know, it all needs to be written, blah blah blah. There are a couple of things that need to be tightened up for sure, but it's a bit like putting a cloth on a light bulb. You know, it still produces light, you get the general image, but it's not as clear as not having the cloth there, or putting like a series of mirrors around the light to reflect it and make it brighter. That's your job as a writer. You've got your plot, which is the light bulb. You have to be a mirror to project that light, or to redirect it, rather than something that hampers for light. So my answer to this question, I hope that wasn't too harsh. I'm not criticizing the direct way that this is written. Rather, I'm just sort of pointing out how it appears to the reader, and also what it's doing to my emotional enjoyment of this story. Because in my honest opinion, if this was written differently, my enjoyment of it would skyrocket. As it stands, it's very intensely focused on more detail, more detail, more detail. Plot-wise, that's up for you to decide if it needs changing. I don't know. I think plot-wise it's fine in terms of what happens. So I think that's my general impression. Yeah, so Krim says, I was wondering if you can include an overall thoughts on the content, like an emotional state of my readers, in terms of their fun level. Lets me know if I'm doing my job right. I'd say that the light bulb is there. You've got the plot down. You've got it working. It's on. It's projecting light. Now it's your job to go in and make sure that you maximize the amount of luminosity and brightness that comes from the plot. I think that's my best piece of advice for probably all of this. If you just listen to this and stop the stream after I've finished what I'm saying and just look at the comments, totally fine, because I think what I've been saying is the most important takeaway. To reiterate, it's that the plot is only half the equation. The way it's written needs to help that plot shine for the reader and make them engaged. Adding more plot won't help, but making the writing fluid, making it enjoyable to read, and maybe cutting a couple of these out and focusing on the one scene I remember from this is this. Let's read it. A soldier stepped near a trench far away from Grim, looking through the scope of his red-painted assault rifle, equipped with a laser dot slowly moving up the trench. Grim didn't realize he was still covering both ears because of the grenade. As he reached to his gun on his side, using his elbow, he rolled his body from stomach onto his back in the trench. So that's a line I didn't pick up, sorry. Pointing the gun upwards, he eyeballed the soldier, holding the gun steady. Grim shot the pistol 3 times in rapid succession, or alternatively, you say this first. Please, just one. One is all I need, Grim says to himself. He aims, he fires, and then he falls down on the snow. This is the best thing out of those 14 micro scenes. This is the best one. And it's not the best one because it's the most complex or the most daring or the most theatrically, wow, that happened. It's for none of those reasons. It's because of the way it's written. You've set up what's happening, you've established the danger, and you've done something that Grimm only does once in all of those 14 scenes, and it's this. You get an insight into how Grimm is feeling. And he shoots, he waits, please God, just let one hit. One hits, and the guy falls on his face, and Grimm breathes a sigh of relief. That's what, like, if you only had that, if that was the totality of the action sequence, and that was fleshed out and made very visceral, that would be very enjoyable to read. And I hope my point's gotten across there. And of course, there's a way you can balance that with the Metal Gear Solid style. I can take on 20 baddies and have fun. You do more of like a few more of these, probably not 14 of them, and engage the reader. Yeah. Okay, cool. With that being said, let's continue on with the edits. We're gonna do a bit more line editing. I'll talk more about the development. You look like hell. Good, and the fur hood. This is where I stopped last time. Whew, okay, great. Here we go. From bad to worse. It sort of reminds me of out of the kitchen into the frying pan. Is that how it goes? One of the Halo original I think it was the frying pan. One of the Halo chapter titles was that. It's called a beat, is it? Make. I think that's a screenwriting thing. I'm calling it a micro scene. I'll call it what I like. Thank you very much. Right, and I think Meg sort of hits it on the head there. If it's just plot we care about, we'd read a synopsis. But we're not after like bulk plot. We're after being there with Grimm as he fires the weapon into that guard's chest and watching the blood spurt out the other side. I want to be there for that. I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, okay, Grimm's there. He shoots that guy, now he's gonna kill some others. But that's why that scene is so important and so it stands out in my mind from all the others. Like I remember vaguely just from my memory what happened in that scene. But I go back to that one because it was the most emotionally involved. And it was the most fun to read. Yeah. But for all intents and purposes, I think this is quite a fun story to work through. And it's fun to read as well. I'm curious to see where it's going. If I had more emotional investment in the characters, and I'm sure that's been built up over the last 19 chapters, it would make good sense as to why we're here, what we're doing. I'm not so concerned about that. What I'm going to be looking for tonight is more evidence of and more times and opportunities to inject that enjoyment into the story. I'll keep my eye on whether or not it feels like it's grabbing me, or whether it's just plot, but nothing else. We'll see how we go. I thought so, yeah. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? This, in the value of context and narratives. They cross over, and but they diverge in a few areas, but I'm not really sure I can articulate. Anyway, so, what's happened? Grim and Julia have re-met in one of the trenches after Grim has taken out 10 bad boys with a grenade. "You look like hell," Julia shouted, sliding down the snowy perch. "It looks like you took most of them out," she continued, her face hiding under her fur hood. Just commenting here, suggesting here. Yeah. Also, I'll just reiterate that this is all my opinion, my bias, my suggestions, and if I've been overly critical, or if novelist Krim, if you feel as though I haven't got a good grip on the story, or you feel like I'm off the wavelength, that's totally valid to feel like that too. You can be the assessor of whether or not my comments and criticisms are worthwhile, and if they apply to you. I think that's important for a writer-editor relationship, that we're on the same wavelength. And that you can feel free to disagree, most definitely. And I'm just one person. I'm in no way a trained professional. It's just I'm here with a perspective and lots of words. So, have a look at this. "You look like hell," Julia shouted, doing this. "It looks like you took most of them out," she continued, her face hiding under the fur hood. This is the same sentence structure twice, so try and avoid this because it makes your reader feel like a bit of deja vu. "So you look like hell," Julia shouted, sliding down the snowy perch. When she was beside him, she shouted over the wind. Over her fur hood. You can put that back in, but this just reverses the structure. Get rid of that, continue it on. "But the storm is moving too fast. Hyphen. That chopper up there. It lost control and hit the side of the mountain. They'd be stupid to send anyone else. We have to go back inside and wait this storm out, regroup until we find something secure to get out of here." Makes sense. And the run-on sentences are good here because this is, I think, closer to how people talk when they're screaming at each other over wind. Remember, they're in a blizzard. You want to cut down some of the words. I think maybe even a little too wordy, but I think it's fine. I'm not going to go in and be like, "Oh, this needs to go out," because I think it does. It's up to you if you want to convey how strong the storm is with dialogue. No way out. I know the way out. It's around the corner. Trust me, I can show you the way," Grim said, coughing. Yeah, again, just watch out for Julia shouted this, Julia does that. Grim said, coughing. You don't need to even say this because it's a new paragraph. We know that Grim's talking. "Are you crazy, this storm? I've been here a while, a hell of a lot longer than you. I've seen people freeze to death just shoveling around and finding their way back. If we leave now, there's no guarantee we'll even find a way off this rock." This could either be an ellipsis, ... I've been here a while, or even just get rid of it. Up to you. I'm gonna get rid of it. "My radio has a tracer," Grim said, now wheezing. "If he gets by the cameras at the front of the building, they, ... Grim waved a wide circle with his right arm. "Should be able to spot us." That the grammatical thing here is this. I think that's the case. Oh, how do you do this? No, commas. Yeah, that. You can lead in with a hyphen. You could also not have anything there. That looks a bit funny. I'm not really sure how to handle that. I've only done that once or twice. I think that's correct. Let me know in the comments, people watching, if you have a suggestion for how to do like an insertion of character action between dialogue. I'm not sure what this means. Let's read and we'll go back and deal with it. They'll know where we're going and they'll send someone to come after us. We'll give away our location and hope we can take something of theirs and turn around. When they send people after us, you're being stupid. They're just going to assume we died out here. No, you were right when you told me. They wrote this and they don't want any loose ends. They want a good story. I'll send wherever to find us both. If we sit inside there and batter the storm, we're just going to fall into their hands. It's what they want us to do. It's the most logical thing. Heal up, rest, and wage a war on that facility. They built that facility. You're telling me they don't feel more comfortable in there than out here? Listen, she said, cocking a gun. I'm ready to escape, but if you slow me down, I'm going to shoot you. I can't have anyone exposing me or being a liability. Show me the way, and I'll help you get out of here. But if you slow me down even for a minute, I'm going to kill you on the spot. And if you think I won't do that, full stop, I'll shoot you right now. Agreed? I thought she was saying go inside the building. We have to go back inside and wait the storm out, says Julia. Let's highlight this in... Ooh, that's a nice blue. You're being stupid, they're just gonna assume we died out here. This is Grim talking now. Here we go. This is it. So, Julia has two opinions. The first one is... comment. Julia seems to have two minds here. Blue 1. Oh, I hope my impression of this is correct. Blue 1. Let's ride the storm out inside. Blue 2. Let's escape. Unless... yeah, but that's just a structural thing here. I'm not sure if I'm even reading that correctly, but yeah. But if you slow me down even for a minute, I'm going to kill you. You're always one to... Grim said, falling over. I'm fine, I just need to get there. He said, coughing up a bit of blood. Tell me the way. I'll make it there faster in the worst condition possible to run and do anything that would be of use to me. I told you that. I wouldn't have to escort all the way to freedom now, would I? Besides, now you know the best option is to be surprising. You're in this more than me. Survival mechanism, it's instinct, he said, laughing. She shook her head and helped him up in the snow. No wonder why our radio support team left you. You're unbearable under pressure. For a few steps she carried him, and then Grim crossed both arms around his body and carefully walked through the snow with each step on his own. The two went around the facility overseeing the damage from their battle. Julius stocked up on ammo and a few weapons from the fallen soldiers. Grim exchanged coats with one of the fallen and layered himself with another coat to stay warm. He also wrapped a red scarf around his wrist. Julia did something similar, except she stole a pair of goggles and wrapped a scarf around her face with the wind blowing, creating a long red trail following her. Grim and her exchanged almost no words, not that either of them could fully hear each other. The snow intensified throughout their walk. The only thing Green could see was the lone building still standing. Julia was able to navigate by following the heavy prints left by Grim's boots. The two continued their trek and slid down the side of a small mountain to the area where Grim first entered. Instead of sneaking around robots, Grim spotted them all frozen solid. The cameras, however, were still attached. He made sure to walk forward in their line of sight and waved at one of them. Julia rolled her... I like that. Julia rolled her eyes and covered her face more with her food? Oh, hood. Where did she get food? She unwrapped her scarf around her arm and waved it near the camera as well. The two continued to walk as Grim made it to the chain link fence, which is every gamer's worst enemy. How sure are you that they'll send a response team? Julia shouted. I don't know, I was mostly bluffing to be honest. Worst case we'll just die a little earlier than usual, but at least it'll be against the elements of nature, and not because of their bullets. Unless they control the weather too, Grim said. I could kill, you know, Julia said, walking a couple of steps and climbing over them. I could kill you now and no one would even spot your body in a snowfall, she said. That's the spirit, Grim replied with a small laugh. Okay, good. Let's take that as our little defining point and go back here. Hey, Brady Bread. Good to see you again. Yeah, no, thank you for coming back. Thank you. Always a pleasure to have some familiar faces in the chat box. Oh, you're going to start a writing stream. Nice. The Witch's Door. Well, Twitch has a lovely writing community, and I don't just say that because I'm a part of it, but I do say it because I'm a part of it. Being amongst people who are so forthcoming and generous with their streams, and just the friendliness, I think, is what I like as well. Yeah. It's a good community. That's for sure. Talk to your viewers as well. There's it's no fun if you're just watching someone tap 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 away with no camera and no mic. Yeah, interact. It is fun, yeah. I've done a few myself. Yeah, it's good. You feel like you're not alone when you write. Nice. Good luck with your move, by the way, Witch's Door. Also, this is a bit of a shout out to TTLACC. I found this because of Twitch's new chat analytics. They've really improved their channel analytics. They've really improved the sort of data that they give their streamers. Like, what are my top streams? Where are my people coming from? How are people being funneled to my stream? And I saw, what are my top clips? And I have one, and it is this one. And I didn't know this existed until I started streaming tonight. Before, like, when I had my splash screen up. I saw this. And I was very amused that this has been immortalized forever on the internet. You're doing God's work, TTLACC, thank you. Immortalizing my hatred for minions. Those horrible yellow Tic Tacs. Anyway, I'm not gonna talk about that. We're gonna edit. I suggest putting ellipses in place of dashes. Just convention. I'm gonna make a point of this. Watch out for overusing this. I'm trying to think of why we don't do this. I think it's bored. Don't let the structure the words, dim the brightness of a narrative. That's the lesson tonight. Don't let the structure of the words dim the brightness of a narrative. Good old Bob Ross. Have I done a story on this list of next edits? This is... Good question, Solar Star Lord. We've got this one. I'm going to be streaming tonight and next stream to finish off. Unless, if Novelist Crim / PumpkinPieAddict, if they send me another message saying like, hey, thanks for doing this, I've got the general idea of what's going on, all good, then I'm happy to stop there. But if you'd like me to keep going through to edit more and more of the structure and the lines, I'm more than happy. After that, I have... Let me go into my Reddit messages. CryptoPsych has sent... No, I asked CryptoPsych for a story. Yes, so CryptoPsych is next, and I'll work on that stream for two or three. I'll work on that story for 2 or 3 streams. So potentially, so this one more with PumpkinPieAddict, so next Thursday. CryptoPsych, potentially 3rd CryptoPsych. So probably like mid-April, May, I'll be free for another one. Haha. It's a good shirt, this one. I've had the red checks for a while. Yeah, it's autumn. Finally it's autumn. Sort of. It's actually quite warm. Still like it's 26 degrees in my room right now. But I've got the long sleeve flannel on because I'm sick of the heat. I love summer. I love the dry heat and I mean, I like all kinds of hot weather, but I also like I like it in moderation. I like transitioning into autumn and into spring. I don't like winter being cold, but basically it's still summer. Like, we've had degrees. No, last week we had like 2 or 3 days over 30 degrees. And it's the middle of autumn. Weird. The weather's playing tricks. I can't point to global warming specifically and say it's global warming's fault. I can only point to general scientific consensus and long-term trends. But yeah, it's basically global warming's fault. Damn it, global warming! Damn it! It's warm. Yeah, well, we can't all live in the tropics, Panda from Mars. Okay, as much as that would be awesome because I love the tropics. Some of us live in temperate zones, okay? And some of us are used to having autumns that's not 30 degrees. So, yeah. Actually, if it's 34 for you there now, why do you need flannel? I guess it gets cold for you in winter, of course, and it's all relative to... yeah, it's all relative to what we're used to, isn't it? Ooh, 30F. Ugh. I'm gonna assume that's horribly cold because Fahrenheit doesn't work in my brain, but yeah, I only know that -40 is the same in both Celsius and Fahrenheit. So yeah, 54C. I just explained the snow I saw yesterday. Checkmate, atheists and people who believe in global warming. 25F. Yeah, that's even colder. Okay. Yes, please convert it for me. No, who shorts in winter? No. I don't get those people who do like the summer forever thing when it's like a dead of winter and it's cold and people just wear shirt and shorts and you're like, how are you surviving? It's so cold. -2. Okay, that's pretty cold. -2 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it never gets that cold where I am. Hotter than Devil's Butthole. I have 9, yikes. I don't envy that. No. I'll take 26 degrees at 10, 13. over a high of 9. Ugh, too cold. Ellipses, use them instead of the hyphens. Be careful of not reusing the same things. I'm fine, I just need to get there. He said coughing up a bit of blood, so again, it's here. So you can get rid of this. Spit like that instead. Tell me the way, I'll make it there faster. You're in the worst condition possible to run and do anything that would be of use to me. If I told you that, I wouldn't have an escort all the way to freedom, would I? So he's saying, don't go ahead because then I wouldn't be able to be escorted out. It's a funny expression. You're the best judge as to whether or not this fits Grimm's character. From my perspective, it's a little... it feels like it's a little out of place. Feels like a little out of place. You can keep that charm and logic and express it another way. Like, if I don't do that, except we're in a blizzard, so... yeah. I just contradicted my own suggestion there, but it gets you thinking about what these characters should be saying to each other in this moment of adversity. You're in this more than me. Survival mechanism, it's instinct, he said, laughing. I'm not sure if he said laughing is really necessary. She shook her head and helped him up in the snow. No wonder why a radio support team left you. You're unbearable under pressure. That should be a colon. Or even a semicolon. For a few steps she carried him, and then Grimm crossed both arms around his body and carefully walked through the snow with each step on his own. Okay, fine, I think. What I don't get about this is there's a whole bit here that feels like it's metafiction. I'm not sure really what's like it. They wrote this. Orchestrated, right? Or are we in a... I'm battling the author. That's just a bit of a fun point there. But yeah, like the connotation of this paragraph here is that I feel as though it's a meta story. Like they're trying to battle against the author, literally. They wrote this and they don't want any loose ends. They want a good story. So I think Grimm means like the baddies orchestrated this event, but it reads like it's a bit of a meta story. I don't mind if it is either way, but I can't tell because I haven't read 1 through 19. No reviews, so who knows? Ooh, that is bad. Yikes. Tennessee, eh? I wouldn't have thought of Tennessee as a humid place, but I guess it's pretty far south, isn't it? Cool. Okay, here. These two paragraphs are quite functional. What can I say about them? This has a bit more life and character to it. This... I'll pull out the old trusty yellow again. To illustrate the point that I made last stream again. And I don't want to overdo this, but I'm doing it specifically here because I think that this paragraph reads like a synopsis, and when you ask yourself, well, why? Like, some important things happen here. Like they get scarves, they make sure that they're ragged up. Look at the structure of it. The two, Julia, Grimm, he, Julia. They did this, they did that, they did that, they did that, they did that. If all of your sentences can work like that, they did that, they did that, the reader's enjoyment just goes do 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 do. It plummets because this doesn't feel like it's part of a story. It feels like it's like the loading scene between fast travel in Skyrim. It feels like it's a necessary evil that you just have to sit through. Except at least in Skyrim you can twiddle the camera around and rotate the figure. Oh wait, is that Fallout? Or is it the same? Anyway, whatever game it is, you can do that. But here, so it's all very well and good of me to criticize it, but what would you put there instead? I think you don't strictly have to do too much new that's beyond here. Just rephrase for sentences. Julia and Grimm stood at the periphery of their battle scene. Smoke rose from fresh craters, melting snow mixed with blood. Corpses lay scattered like pawns on the king's chessboard. Full stop. An acrid kind of smell hung in the air, one that snuck down Grimm's throat and made him cough more blood. Like dribble blood down his chin, whatever. Full stop. They need to stock up. Or, as the blizzard blows another torrent of snow and ice into their faces, Julia and Grimm stock up. Ammo, jackets, red scarves, like beacons to tie around their wrists. Full stop. They are ready. Full stop. That is exactly the same thing that happens here. But only once or twice did I start my sentence with a pronoun like that. Well, this isn't strictly a clear pronoun. One of these is. This is like a collective. Anyway, this is what I was talking about before about the light bulb narrative and the cloth. I took everything, like with my verbal vomit then, I took everything that was here, or what I remember being there, and I rewrote it differently, using different words and different structure and different flow, and I projected a different meaning into the reader's mind than this. And instead of it being a list of things that happen, it becomes a beat, to use Make's expression. It's a little micro scene. I'm going to call them micro scenes. I like how it reminds me of micro pigs, and micro pigs make me happy, so I'm going to call it micro scene. Yeah, do that. Ooh, work. Well, you got to earn that money. For sweet dollary dues. Yes, but thank you for joining in. Thank you for being part of my Liebirds watches, and hope you've liked what you've seen. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, Liberto114. Hopefully catch you on Sunday or next week, whenever you're around, and enjoy work. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it's a good idea to wait. And then everyone can argue over where stuff goes. Oh, packing. I don't envy. So yeah, the voice note at 118. Voice note 118. Yeah. Now, Grim and her exchanged almost no words, not that any of them could fully hear each other. The snow intensified their walk. Which is quite a nice sentence, so I'm gonna leave that blank. The only thing Gwen could see was the lone building still standing, which is fine. Julia does that. The two continued on. Now here's a good one. Instead of sneaking around robots, Grim spotted them all frozen solid. The cameras, however, were still attached. This is a great way to start off a sentence. And the third phrase, however, makes it lurch into a different direction. It's like you're driving straight, and then boop, you're over here now. Instead of sneaking around robots, Grim spotted them all frozen solid. Fine? It's a bit of an unusual sentence, because the verb here. I can't really hear it though. Julia rolled her eyes and covered her face with more of a hood. She unwrapped her scarf around her arm and waved it at the camera as well. I don't get this here. Julia shows her disdain, covers her face, and then proceeds to uncover her face and mimic Grim. It's the same, like, it feels like one of these things should exist and the other shouldn't. I have a feeling. Pick one of these and keep it. As it stands, it's a... to have her do both. It just doesn't... It's incompatible with... It's inappropriate. Because they contradict each other. Both because the actions... to continue to walk. Discriminated to a torn chain link fence. How sure are you that they'll send a response team? Julia shouted. I don't know. It was mostly bluffing, to be honest. Worst case, we'll just die a little earlier than usual, but at least it'll be against the elements of nature and not because of their bullets, unless they control the weather too. You don't need this dialogue tag here because we know that it's Grim speaking because it's the only other character there. I could kill you know. I could kill you, comma, you know. Julia said, comma, walking a couple steps is an Americanism, it's fine. And climbing over them. Them? the bodies. I'm not sure what this is. I could kill you now, and no one would even spot your body in this snowfall. You don't need to say she said, because she said it before. Done. That's the spirit, Grim replied back with a small laugh. Again, that same structure, watch out for it. Alright, Grim walked for another hour without saying a word to the main Julia. Just something on that note as well. Julia was able to navigate by following the heavy prints left by Grimm's boots. This is a slight break in focalization, but I think we've established that it can be consistent with the story. I think this is okay. I think the narrator has enough leverage over both characters to want to be justified in moving between Grimm and Julia's focus. Yep. Oh. That's a spirit, Grim replied back, and here's where I got to. So let's have a bit more of a read. Grim walked for another hour without saying a word to the main Julia. Not sure what that means. He spotted a tree from earlier in the mission, but the body had been removed. That's a callback, that's fine. There was a man, and he was right here. What happened to his body? Grim said, looking side to side, kicking her feet under the snow, hoping to find the body, which would be his feet. Unless Grim's a woman. I'm aware that thinking back to my story with my gender pronoun switching, Grim said, looking, yeah, best to keep it consistent. Yeah, on that note, I think when I'm going to go through and edit that story that I was working on, I'm going to have a think about how I can get the point across of what I was trying to do with his and hers. In a way that's more effective rather than just in-sentence switching. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I edited some of my story that I've been writing quite recently. I edited that earlier on this month before I went back to other people's stories. Just reminded me of it then. Actually, that's on my Discord if you want to have a read of it. It's in the pinned messages. You're more than welcome to go and have a read. Keep in mind though that it's going to be a bit messy. Oh, actually, you can turn these guys off back into viewing. I will eventually get back to that story and edit it properly offline myself. That's my own writing, and I'll show you version 2 when it comes up. So it's just a draft. Yeah, feel free to have a look at that if you like. Let me know what you think. So I wouldn't know about that. No one reported to me anything about a body. Besides, you'd have to be crazy to come through here anyway, Julia said. I made it through here once, and I'll make it through here again. And when we're on the other side, he shouted. The pair walked another hour. We did it, we're here and we made it, Grim said, looking off at the horizon. Look, Julia shouted out, pointing over the slopes. They brought the bait. We can escape if we just... The two exchanged looks. Grim crouched down and took off the scarf around his arm. Let me make a note to myself. Yeah. I'm going to be the diversion. You get out and escape, he said. I don't even know how to fly. I'm a liability. No way. Technically, it makes no sense. She said, not looking at Grim. What? I thought you wanted to get out of here. That's the ride out. That's the ride out. No, I'm a pilot. I know when to call it, and I know where this is a suicide mission. Taking a chopper out there she said, pointing to the snowy horizons. Just tells me that there's a small window of time to do this, and I need another set of eyes. But if you want to be a diversion, here's what you can do, she said, reaching into her coat. Toss the flares from behind. I'll rain down fire from above. We'll confuse them, and you can get to one of the helicopters. I'll provide cover fire, and then make a run for it. Grim took a couple of deep breaths and took the flares and nodded his head. Make sure you're not spotted. The only line of sight I have is here, she said, pulling off her gloves and breathing into them. My hands won't shake like yours. That's the real reason I can't rely on you with a pistol, she said in a low voice, tilting her head to Grim. Grim looked down and saw that his hands were shaking, possibly from the bitter cold and winds. But he was impossible for Grim to discount the amount of damage he had taken the past few hours. He hadn't been given an opportunity to rest and recover from damage, but his hands were shaking from just holding the two flares. I can still throw, he said. That you can. I like that. Now you go. Now go, she said, giving him a slight nudge. Grim Crouch walked his way behind a few snowbanks, careful not to be seen by the patrolling guards who were shouting coordinates and looking down at something flapping in the wind. Although for Grim it was hard to see exactly what they were looking at. As they groped in a circle, he wasn't sure they couldn't see him either. Starting coordinates. He stayed along the back of the walls, occasionally looking up occasionally, in case a pile of snow came crashing down from above, as it had done multiple times from fallen branches. Grim took a deep breath and moved out of the protection of the snowbank into the white blizzard. Had the conditions been fair, he would have surely been walking into the easiest line of sight. Wind only intensified with each step, and Grim could partly make out their scarves still blowing in the wind. Grim pulled out a single flare and aimed it a little to the left of the soldiers. He cocked back his arm and threw it. The flare travelled with the wind speed and moved right above their heads and exploded. I'm not sure if flares explode. They explode into light. Grim spotted... you must be thinking of like a projectile flare. That's a bit different though. Grim spotted numerous patrols, frantically looking around. Grim crawled on his stomach and used his teeth to pull another flare. He rolled on his back, and this time simply tossed it into the air, letting the wind take it wherever he may be. Bang. Let's stop there. Give me a sec, I'm gonna get some water, so I can talk. Back soon. I'm back with air conditioning. Yeah. I think I'll be able to actually finish this story tonight. Yay! Good, good, good. Okay. And I think I'll do so by focusing less on line edits and speaking more specifically about a few things I'd like to address in a plot sense, actually. I don't do this an awful lot, but I think maybe it could be useful here, because I notice things. Again, this doesn't happen a lot on Lyrebird edits, mainly because of the stories I've been editing. So far have been quite clean in how the plot progresses. I feel as though that we've kind of sped things up here, as though like it is difficult to convey senses of distance and time having taken its toll on characters. So when like here, the pair walked another hour. Hey, we did it. We're here, and he's looking at the horizon. Usually this kind of scene. Oh, sorry, I was making a point before about plot points. Yeah, I usually try not to comment too much on how the plot's working, but I think here it's important because the length of the writing is getting quite condensed, and we're getting quite a few heavy plot points that having maybe a little bit of trouble gelling together, like my fingers are doing now, like this gel. Yeah, so we've got to make the story do that, but without me being flamboyant about it. First things first, how do you convey time disappearing like that? One way is to do this, which is quite refreshing. Another way is to sort of make time fall into the wayside with some descriptions of how crappy Grimm's body is holding up. So that's another suggestion. So instead of the pair walked an hour, yay, we did it. You could also spend 3 or 4 sentences showing us how Grimm's body was crapping out on him over the course of this hour. Doing so will also convey the same idea. An hour has passed. And bonus, we get inside Grimm's head too. Yay! Comment number 1. Comment number 2, we did it, we made it, we're here, said Grimm looking off to the horizon. Where is here? Even though I'm not privy to the scene, because, you know, I haven't read chapters 1 through 19, the reader will definitely benefit from being re-grounded into the scene. You say that over the slopes, that's fine. Just like a little half sentence, even, so that we know where we are. Look, Julia shouted out, pointing over the slopes. You can even just put Julia pointed over the slopes. They bought the bait. We can escape if we just... The two exchanged looks. Grimm crouched down and took off the scarf around his arm. I get what this is. This is, they've seen guards. I didn't know about it at first. I thought that they were like, doing one of those sort of like, they're exchanging looks because something happened here that made them go, yeah, that thing. Remember that thing that happened? Or something like that. But what actually happens is that some guards come out, but we don't see that. We just see the reaction. This is a double-edged sword. If it's clear, it works perfectly. If it's unclear, it makes your reader not understand it. And I'm a stupid boy when it comes to hints and subtlety. I like not subtlety. So my personal preference here would be to inject a sentence explaining what happens, but I'll leave this one in limbo and just put like a little comment here. Have a think about whether or not you like this transition here. You're going for a which is a happy moment ruined by guards, then a reaction. My impression, didn't know what was happening until a few sentences later. I'm a stupid boy sometimes. I don't like... Oh, it's not what I don't like, it's like, the point here I'm trying to make is that I'm a stupid boy sometimes, and perhaps I just didn't get it. Right. So this is a 50-50 thing. If you, novelist Krim, feel as though like, yeah, this is the 1-2 punch, I nailed it, then it's just my fault that I'm not getting it. But for me, my honest impression is I don't really know what you're trying to go for here. But I do have a vague sense of what may be happening, but then it's confounded by the guards. Krim crouched down and took off the scarf around his arm. I don't really get what, like, this informs this. Maybe he's preparing his weapon because he's seen something. Oh, he's seen guards. That makes sense, but it's spread over a couple of sentences and it doesn't work, for me at least. I'm going to be a diversion. You get out and escape. He said, I don't even know how to fly. I'm a liability. There's the ride out. As a reader here, so I'm going to X that suggestion. I wasn't aware there was a plane here or that they had come to a location where they could easily escape. Julia says, hey, we made it, but she doesn't really say where or why or what the implication of it is. Up above, when Julia says, hey, we made it, it's not entirely clear where it is or what implication that holds. Showing us, or even telling us at this point, I don't really mind, telling us that the plane is there on a runway overlooking the mountains. That'd help me out as a reader. Even if this still applies. This still applies even if I've read CH1 to 19. You still need to ground those scenes and re-ground them if you're revisiting a scene. I'm not a pilot. That's fine. Grim looked down, saw what his hands were shaking. This notion here about he hadn't been given an opportunity to rest or recover reads a little too video game. You know, as if like you sit in a place for a while and throw some ingredients into a pot, chomp it down, and you get like your heart meter refilling. It doesn't work in a narrative. Full stop. Like, injuries either cripple or they don't, and I think his injuries obviously haven't crippled him to the extent where he should be worried about all this. It's hard to convey injury in writing, and it's one of the sort of internal weaknesses of the medium. It's like describing music. Like, you can do it and you can describe how it makes people feel, but you can't do it. You can't capture what music is. And in the same way, like, bodily distress is quite difficult to, in this sense, not in an immediate pain sense, but in the sense of, I was injured 3 hours ago. I'm still feeling like this. It's difficult. Hey, Wolf Chicken, morning. Whatever your day is doing, my day is nearly over. It's 1 hour and 12 minutes from being over. So, yeah. But it's been a good day. And it's all the more better because you're here. Hey, like and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon. Yeah. Hello. How are you? That was a joke. I don't have a Patreon. That's me being sarcastic. Oh, hello, PumpkinPieAddict. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Over here. Everyone say hello. So we are getting towards the end of your story. Actually, we have we're 12 out of 15. And I'm nearly towards the end. What we've been focusing on this stream, and please go back and watch the replay too. I think there'll be lots of useful things to dig out. But I'll give you a little summary. Well, everyone showers you with love and affection. So I started the stream at this point here, after the end of the action scene, with my monster comment here. And Julia was talking with Grim in the aftermath, and then on we go when they try and plot their escape. They have a discussion about whether or not they should go back inside or whether they should go try and hot-foot it. And so what we've been doing tonight is a combination of things. We've been looking at the consistency between some of the ideas. I've noticed tonight that one of the things that keeps popping up is this structure. It's dialogue. Someone says, doing this thing. So ice cream is okay, says Lyrebird, washing the dishes. This happens quite a lot within the story, and I think you just go through again and, at your own pace, make sure that this doesn't pop up too much. When it does pop up, every subsequent time it happens, I use the expression here, it dims the quality of, so don't let the structure of the words dim the brightness of the narrative, which is a lovely way of saying, don't give the reader a reason to not enjoy what they're doing. Yes. Oh no. Oh, that's really sad. I hope your dog's okay. Yeah, I hope it gets better soon. Yeah, my puppy got sick a while back. It's pretty nerve-wracking, because dogs don't vocalize that they're sick until they're sick and they're vomiting everywhere. Yeah, it's nasty stuff. So yeah, hope your dog's okay. Yeah, but no, thank you for letting me work through this story, PumpkinPieAddict. It's been the amount of stuff I've been able to talk about and display has been really exciting. I think it's just a fun story as well, like a sort of balls to the wall kind of action scene. No, that's totally fine. I'm as I said over our Reddit chat, I'm more than happy to have people come in and say hello while the edit's going on. It also helps if, like, I'm off the wavelength and you can pop in and say, hey, I actually meant this. I'm totally fine with that. So really, how bad is this story? No, not at all. Let me vocalize to you what I was saying at the start of the stream. I mean, if you go back and watch it, you'll hear this again. But I think this will be good for like a good opportunity to, I think, get like the major point across. I mentioned before that, like, if this was the one thing that's taken away, that'd be good. It's this idea. I actually wrote it down here. Don't let the structure of the words dim the brightness of the narrative. I spoke before about how, in response to the whisper that you sent to me over Twitch about what my general impression was of the story, and did I enjoy it? And I replied, you know, saying, yeah, the action's good, and it's an engaging story. But I also made mention of the narrative works in two ways. There's the plot, the what happens, the synopsis, the Wikipedia summary. There's that element of the narrative, but then there's the way it's written, which is the structure of the story, the flow of the words, the word choices, the line by line nature of a narrative. That acts as like a wrapper around your narrative. And if you think of your plot like a light bulb, the narrative can do one of two things. It can smother the light of that light bulb, in which case the enjoyment from a reader's perspective will go down. But with the same ideas presented in a slightly different way, that enhances the innate quality of those devices, those plot elements, your reader enjoyment will go up. So I think there's a temptation for authors to say, look, I don't care about the line-to-line stuff, just tell me, did you like it, was it exciting? And as an editor and writer combined, and reader, as an editor and reader combined, and also just as someone who writes, I guess my honest response is I don't want to separate those two, because your reader won't. Your reader doesn't read the story for this happens, then that happens, then that happens, then that happens. They read the story because they're emotionally engaged with how the story is being presented. That's why simple stories told effectively stay in people's hearts much more than complex stories told poorly. I'm not saying this is one of those, I'm just saying that I think it's more important to emotionally engage your reader. So that's my answer to you. And it might feel like a bit of a cop-out, or I'm not being straight enough, but I think that's the big takeaway. It's that we can't dismiss the line-by-line stuff. We have to embrace it, because that's how we make the story engaging. Case in point, which you might have seen last stream, was the scene where Grimm is doing a one-on-one, this scene here where the soldier comes down and Grimm has to shoot him. He has to roll himself over, line the shot up, please, just let one hit. Grimm shoots and the guy goes down. This is the best scene out of those 14 micro scenes, or beats, as Make calls them. Out of all of those scenes compressed together, all 14 of them stacked together, this is the best one. Not because it's the most, like, narratively unique or special, but it's because the way it was told was the most emotionally engaging. So it's the one that I remember. Yeah. So all of that in a nutshell is don't discard how something is written and just focus on the plot. Instead, marry them together and your readers will thank you. Their enjoyment will skyrocket. Yeah, I hope that helps. Hope that's a good summation of this entire series of edits. Now I wanted to go through this last little section here, which is where you came in, and just talk about some of the elements that were, I think, just sort of caught me off guard a little bit. Yeah. Also, yeah, glad to know that you found the first batch of edits useful. Yeah. I said this reads a little to a video game. He hadn't been given an opportunity to rest and recover. Conveying. You can still make mention of how tired, worn out, injured he is, but perhaps in just a more literal way. So, although his guts hurt to high hell, he sure as hell wasn't about to give up, is more useful than... He hadn't been given an opportunity to do the video game thing because of all the damage. Sort of flip it on its head and make it a positive statement. Even though his body feels like crap, he's still going ahead. Cool. I'm glad Pumpkin Pie insight. Thanks for saying that. I was worried that that would come off from me as being overly harsh or insensitive to what you really wanted out of this edit. But I'm glad that you found it useful. I think that's what I strive for in an edit, is to not strictly give people what they want. Hey, I'm waking up in 9 hours. Thank you, Flux. But it's just, I don't want to retread over ground that the author doesn't want me to really focus on. So I was worried that I was being a bit, I don't know, dickish in that suggestion. But yeah. Nevertheless, I still think that's the most important thing to take away. So, hey, if you found it useful, then I'm all smiles. Yeah, good. Let's get back to some of these things here. Okay, cool. This... His hands were shaking, possibly from the bitter cold. Shake like yours. I think this is interesting here, this little scene where Julia is obviously in control of her body and neurology, but Grimm isn't. I guess it's because he's just killed 10 people and had to walk for 2 hours, so that would have something to do with it. Two things. Here, the patrolling guards. Wasn't reader's perspective. I wasn't sure of how many guards were in this setting. Or how much of a threat they posed, or how far away they were. Ground this information earlier on, and the reader will be able to picture it clearer. Good. Shouting coordinates and looking down at something flapping in the wind. I don't mind that as much as I did before. Back to the walls. Again, I'm not sure really what's again, not sure really what the scene looks like, so I wasn't expecting a building. One thing I say a lot on Livebird edits is to, if you introduce important details too late in the narrative flow, it surprises the reader and it makes them retroactively paint that image again. Introduce everything important up front and then deal with it as it comes. Otherwise you end up with this situation. It's the black bag situation for my regulars. He'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, in this case here, I wasn't expecting a wall to be there, so in my mind I'm like, oh, okay, there's a wall, I guess there's a building, okay, and now I'm back in the flow. But you don't want to rip your reader out and put them back in like that. As I done multiple times from fallen branches sounds like a memory. I know what this is. I'm not sure if it needs to be referenced. Even if you cut it out, he stayed along the back walls looking up occasionally in case a pile of snow came crashing down from above. That's fine, I think. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Ah, Elements of Style. I've heard of that one. Yeah. I think that's a great attitude to have, actually. And um, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we're all writers here, and we all want people to appreciate the stories that we work on and embrace the worlds that we make too. So sometimes, yeah, I guess part of what I try and do here is to be as positive and clean and useful as I can be as an editor. For this specific reason, it's nerve-wracking doing what we do. Like what I'm doing here on Lyrebird Edits. This is someone's personal artistic expression, right? It's it's not just a thing we do flippantly. Um, I think that's partly why I like to show my writing on the stream sometimes as well, is so that I can remind myself as an editor what it's like as a writer to show your writing to someone. Um, and I think yeah, it's a difficult thing to do is to put your ego to one side and go, okay, I've just got to be the best author that I can, take all the advice I can, measure if it's good advice or bad advice, and apply it into my own writing. And yeah, it can be nerve-wracking, right? So I think for everyone who sends in a story, I'm always really thankful that they do, because it's not an easy thing to have someone edit your work, let alone broadcast it so that other people can see it. But I think yeah, part of that is also cultivating a lovely chat box full of very handsome and very knowledgeable people, who can just make the journey a lot easier, and that we're not taking a giant shit on anything that happens here. It's all just so that we can learn from each other. I think that's a good thing to do. But yeah, right. So share your work with everyone. Or share your work everyone. Get another eye. It's the only way you can improve. Yep, I agree. Get a beta reader. Or, like beta readers are the best for this because they'll give you readers' perspectives, like unbiased, unwriterly, uneditorial. Just hey man, here's your story. Here's what I think of it. Um, yeah, super important. I think. Barring that, get an editor like me, and I'll go through it line by line. Hmm. 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 I'm just reading Wolf Chicken's statement here. Yeah, exactly. That having that trust is crucial between an editor and a writer. It's sort of like what Octavia Memories was talking about on my Discord channel, where she was part of a little writers group that gave feedback to each other online, and I saw some of that feedback, and while the criticisms may have been apt, it didn't help or explain or provide any measure of how Octavia would improve on that writing. It was just nope, 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 nope. And that's not really editing, it's just criticism, right? So I think she was right to be wary of that type of feedback. It feeds into what the wolf chicken here was saying, is that you have to have a trust that the person you're showing your story to in this stage of production will be on your wavelength. I love that word, but having an ally editor is or an ally beta reader is the most useful thing you can do, because they'll want you to succeed, whereas random strangers on the internet may just say, you know your opener's crap. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's not that they could be right, But unless they spend time helping you develop as a writer, their criticism is kind of, it's only worth the one sentence. You know, you want expansions. You want to develop. Yeah. Yeah. So I feel for Octavia Memories. She was that that criticism she received was quite heavy, and not particularly, useful. That was a little while back. Yeah. Hmm. That's a good way of putting it, PumpkinPieAddict. Yeah. It also it's difficult too when money's involved as well, because if you pay for it, you feel like you're obligated to work with that person. But yeah, you sort of want to try out a little bit and see if you gel. Hmm. Let's move on to the next one here that I highlighted. The flight travel with the wind speeder moved right above their heads and exploded. I can be very wrong about this, but I thought that flares tend not to explode. They just light up and dim down. There are two types of flares here. One is a projectile, the other is a Terran wave style. Is this intentional? I'm not sure. There were just the little things I noticed there about the flares. And then we got up to bang. So I'm probably going to read... I'll read out loud the rest of this. I'll do some more yellow highlighting and put comments on the side. Then we'll be done. It'll be like 20 minutes or something. Hmm. Hmm. Let's read out from here. Bang! Krim heard the first bullet fired, followed by a few more. He rolled onto his stomach and grabbed his pistol. He looked down through the sights, but saw only the whiteout of the snow and his hands. That's a great description. The whiteout. His hands were not trembling. Yeah, that's really nice. It's like an all-encompassing description. It's good. His hands were not trembling anymore, as Julia noted. They were now jumping violently up and down. He had no line of sight that was useful for him. Instead, he pushed on his elbows and got back up. He sprinted to the right of the soldiers. A bullet reached his foot, and he looked up. He spotted a race scarf in the wind, moving closer to him. As it drew closer, Grim spotted Julia wrapped in the scarf around her wrist again. I'd like to clarify. I'm not sure if Julia shot at him, or if it was a guard, or yeah, just a tiny bit of clarity there. That may be me just not focusing in on it properly. Think I got them all, the rest scattered, she shouted. The helicopter looked intact. She raised her goggles off her eyes and wiped her snow-covered gloves along her face. She led the way towards the helicopter and Grim followed. The black helicopter with no specific or particular markings was left unattended. Julia opened the door to the side and Grim took the side cart, passing the mounted gun. Hoo hoo hoo, hello. He closed the door and for the first time in a while, they both escaped the violent blizzard outside. Grim collapsed on the helicopter floor and gasped for air, closing his eyes. He tried to remove everything that felt wet around him from his hat, coat, gloves, but that was a Herculean task even without the various injuries he sustained. Julia sat in the pilot's seat and flipped a few switches, muttering while pressing buttons. Anyone out there, can you read me? This weather is too much, we're turning back, she said into the radio. There was no reply. Figures, this is probably the only patrol that made it through the weather anyway. All things considered, we just need to fly. We have enough gas to get us anywhere. We can go our separate ways, she said. That radio, are you sure it's working? And check the loopback channel. Julia spoke into the radio and heard her voice. She looked at Grim and nodded. Grim grabbed the side of the seat. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's pretty clever. Grim grabbed the side of the seat and pulled himself up. Grabbing his abdomen with his left hand, he walked over to the pilot's seat. This must be quite a big helicopter. He reached over, feeling the effects of the day's events on his back muscles and stomach as he stretched and grabbed the radio piece with 2 fingers, and the rest he tuned on any random dial. And the rest? Sentence structure makes this unclear as to what it actually is. Is it part of the radio console? I'm not sure. If you're out there, and I know you are, who you are. If you're out there, and I know who you are, I want you to know we're coming, we made it out, and we're going to expose it all. I will reveal the truth of what happened here. Okay. Actually, fair point. We've gone a chapter without having the drive of the narrative reiterated. Why exactly? Throughout this chapter, and especially at the points when characters are moving from A to B, up to fight scenes, for example, we can have reminders of this sprinkled in. Use it as a motivator. Use it as a motivator for the characters. Yeah. Hello, Grim, her voice replied. I thought Julia was talking. Who is this? Oh, no, it's Grim. How can you communicate to us in this weather? Grim shouted. Never mind who I am. It's just a matter of between us I'd like to discuss. Who are you talking to? Julia asked. Grim pointed to the radio and realized his earpiece was active. Now, was he wearing this? All chapter? Or just when he got in the heli? He reached over to his head and pushed forward his inner ear, activating. Push the earpiece further into his ear, activating his radio. Inner ear is inside the human skull, past the eardrum. Unless he's physically reaching in past his eardrum, which would be weird. Don't do that. That's a bit weird. How did you find this channel? What happened to the Commander and Murphy? They're safe. I assume at least. Last I checked, they're doing better than you are, the man said. Again, because there are only 2 possible... Well, there's only 1 possible person who could be saying that. You can just get rid of the dialogue tag. Grim heard a chair rolling along the floor. According to your vital charts, you don't have too much longer. Lost a bit of blood. few broken bones. Windpipe might need to be looked at, but all things considered, this is a drop in the bucket. We've done a great job keeping you under our eye. We rather not have to lose you as an asset and whoever you're with. Huh. If that's a threat, there's no way you're going to find me. In this weather, we're practically flying blind ourselves, Grimm said, with Julia still looking confused. If you don't think we're willing to throw a few people and a few toys into Mother Nature, I'm afraid you still understand so little, the voice said. Good opportunity to mix up the dialogue tag. So... something like that. You got a name? You can call me the Secretary of State. Let's capitalize those S's. Yeah. Your circus was a fun event and you played your role amicably. There's very little troubling us at the moment about this situation. We just would like you to hand over the recordings of his mission data. You do that and you're free to leave. I don't have the mission data, none of it, Grimm said, looking down. Let's try and front end part of your dialogue tags. Something like that. There are no downsides to moving a tag from the back to the front. No downsides, unless you do it all the time. And I'm afraid there is no bargaining. We have written the official story. Everyone died 3 hours ago from a tragic chemical explosion, deemed too unsafe to visit. And we deemed the area too unsafe to visit. You can fix up the lines here at your own time. So everyone died 3 hours ago from a tragic chemical explosion. Site deemed too unsafe to visit. And that will be the official story for the record books. Colon. Nothing happened here. No one will know your name or what you did. And now you will join the rest, forever silent. Oh, that's it. Okay, good. Consider ending the chapter by getting Julia or Grimm to make an action. Grimm like that, just it takes 2 sentences. Usually you don't want to end on dialogue, just like end with Grimm reacting and let's leave, let's go. That's all you need to do. Nice. I rushed over a little bit at the end here. What do I think of this end dialogue passage? We haven't met this character before, obviously. Okay, at this point here, add some defining characteristic about the voice. Is it deep, lovely, crackly, harsh, ghostly? We need something, and then once you have that, it solidifies in the reader's mind what this character sounds like. Make it evil, to evil up the character. Alrighty. Let me check something. Alrighty, good. Yep, I've shared this with PumpkinPieAddict. Yeah, and all the sharing settings are working. Good, we're done. We are done. I thought I'd have another stream out of this one. But that means I can move on to Crypto Sykes' story next stream. Cool. I don't think I have anything else to say about the story that I haven't already said. Like there's nothing about the end in particular that jumped out, with the exception of this. I will speak about this really quickly. Even in a story where that you're pretty confident that the reader knows what's going on and why things are happening, it's always good just to drop in little reminders here and there as to why characters are doing what they're doing, what's happening in the story and why. You don't have to get a character to say like, hey, we need to get this vial of serum into the Vatican before the Pope takes a bite of the cupcake. You don't need to keep saying that over and over and over again, but you can make mention of it in a clever way, and I suggested that here. Remember when I was talking about Skyrim? Fast traveling. Yes, the pay walked an hour. Hey, we made it! This is a great opportunity for, in the couple of sentences that you can add here, as per my suggestion there, to flesh out the scene, sprinkle in a little reminder of the drive, why we're here, what we're doing. Even though the stakes looked pretty shit, Grimm kept his head down and pushed forward because he needed to get the serum to the Vatican. Like, that kind of reminder is really useful because it keeps the stakes level. It doesn't raise them, it just keeps them level. Because over time, your reader's engagement with the plot will slowly die a little bit down, and doing what I suggested there brings it back up to the state it was at before. You don't want to do it too much because that'll weaken the rekindling. But if you do it just enough, just a little bit here and there, what it does is it keeps the reader engaged, and that also helps with reader engagement. So it's very important that this happens once or twice throughout the scene. So throughout the chapter, 3 or 4 times. Like, you have to do it by having a pulse on the story too. That's actually quite an important narrative element to discuss as well, like the motive behind this chapter. I didn't get a huge sense of knowing why things were happening. I was engaged with it, but having a few of those little sprinkles here and there would have really helped me as a reader to be like, oh, okay, he has to do this now. He has to get out and save the president's daughter's dog from entering the talent show. You know, there's got to be that one thing that keeps the reader being like, yep, I'm on board. I know what I'm doing. So that's my final suggestion. Ugh, good, lovely. I think we are done. Thank you, PumpkinPieAddict, for sending this over. And I'm really glad that you found it useful. If you've got any more questions, anything else you want to follow up, just send me a Reddit message. If you got another story you'd like me to edit, send it through too. Housekeeping things for you guys out there. If you'd like me to edit some of your work, send it through. Any way is fine. Twitch whispers, email, Reddit, whatever, Discord, anything you like. I've got a Discord channel. Please join it. You can find a link. No, actually, I'll give you a link. I will find that link. I have lost that link. Go to my dashboard. Click on the Discord. No, my homepage. You know, the Lyrebird, the thing you're watching this on. Underneath it, click on Discord, and I'll be there. I think that's about it. Oh, thanks, Wolf Chicken. Yeah, cool. Glad you liked it. Thanks for everyone who joined in today. If you were here from the start, watching it all, TTLACC, I know that's you. And Wolf Chicken as well. You've been here from the start as well. And just for everyone who popped in when they could, thank you. It's always lovely to see familiar faces. We'll catch you Sunday, where I'll be editing Crypto Sykes' story. I hope you liked the new layout as well. I'm over here. Hope that's not too confusing. Great. Alrighty, well, we will catch you on another stream. Thanks for joining in, and hope you have a good night.